will migrate into here because this is yummy tucker for them, and it's also nice and damp.
Oh yes, worms.
Big carrots without us having to thin them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. We're actually quite adventurous eaters in that we'll eat anything that looks, I mean, some people might say, oh look, it doesn't look quite smooth. But by the time you've chopped it up and put oil and vinegar on it, and we eat all sorts of things like that. There's a little marigold poking its face through here. You know that you can eat marigold petals. We put them in all of our salads because they make it look so pretty. So very good companion plants. And did you catch a glimpse of this beautiful cauliflower, which was a surprise to me? I hadn't been along here for a week and it's all of a sudden gone like this. This is a self-sown bit of green manure. It looks like a vetch to me. I'm not quite sure what it is. It might have come in the straw, which I'm using as mulch. So I plan to leave that in at least until it seeds and flowers and seeds, and then I'll be able to identify it. And let's keep it. I have vetch and barley and oats and wheat as green manure, but that can be add to the diversity. You can see my beautiful corn over here, which grew beautifully. You can see it's got whopping pods on it, but they're not, oh, they might just have come to fruition. And with gardening, you win some, you lose some, but if the worst comes to the worst, the horses will love eating these. They eat the whole lot, and we'll probably cook them, the pods, and cut the corn off and drop them into a stir fry or a stew or a soup or something like that. And there you can see my beloved Brussels sprouts. I absolutely adore Brussels sprouts, and they're quite challenging to get going. White butterflies, white cabbage fly everywhere. So they're diabolical to get to grow, to keep healthy. You really have to nurture them. But look, when it comes to May and everything else has gone, ooh, it's too cold and wet, I can't grow, and Brussels sprouts really come into their own. And people often ask me how many plants you need for an average two-person family. Well, we're a two-person family and we've got about 30 Brussels sprout plants because I just love them. Quite happy to eat them every evening meal for the whole season until September, October, when they go to seed, and that's the end of them. Here is a patch that I didn't even know I had because I didn't sow it, of absolutely fabulous daikon. Now, you know, with daikon, you get a certain size if you have good soil. Now, what do we do with all of this? Well, the root is beautiful, grated perhaps with carrot to make, you know, the contrast between the white and the red. Oil and vinegar, salt and pepper, beautiful salad. I also julienne it and put it in a stir fry. It bulks up soups and stews beautifully. Now, the top bit, I give the outside bits of the top to the chooks, who just love it, and it's very good for their iron levels. And that stir fries beautifully, or chopped quite finely, goes in a salad. Now, if you've got rich soil, it will grow nice and soft. If you've got, the top will be nice and soft. If you've got grotty soil and the plant has struggled to grow, then you'll find that those leaves are quite tough and strong tasting. But early in the season and grown at speed because you've got good soil, those greens will be beautiful to eat. Here we have some beautiful silver beet, or rather rainbow chard. And again, I pull the outside leaves off, and those all go to the chooks, who are very grateful for them. It also means less home for slugs, which are a gardener's nightmare. Here we have more of my beauty. I told you there were lots of sprouts. Those little ones are ready to eat. This trellis has grown zebra beans for me. They were absolutely magnificent. Everybody who came and looked round the garden in the summer would say, "What's that?" It was just a wall of green, and it was covered with these pods. Zebra beans, they started off being brown with white stripes, and I've kept the seed for 35 years and planted them again and again and again, and now I've got cream beans with brown marks on them. This is a cabbage that I would have put in this time last year, or this time, say, 10 months ago. And what's happened is that I cut the main top off it, but carefully left some leaves, just a few leaves like that to keep it growing on the stem. And now you may be able to see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I've got a lot of cabbages coming. So there's one that's ready. We'll take that in and eat it. And these ones will heart up as the season goes on. So I never pull brassicas out. So brassicas, I mean cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. I just cut the tops of them off and they resprout. This is a backlog of compost that we're going to make. So the day is coming very, very soon when we're going to actually make compost. In fact, it usually takes the two of us about 3 days to make compost. And how we make it is in this bay where we've already started it. So what happens is that we have a mulcher, the biggest of the non-industrial machines, and all of this lot goes through the mulcher, which cuts it up and bashes it, and shoots it into here. And we layer that with green horse manure, fresh horse manure. So we lock the horses in the yards overnight, clean it, barrow it up, bring it and put it in here. And green grass, if there is any. This year, because it's raining, there'll be lots of green grass. A little bit of blood and bone, and we layer it and layer it and layer it. And usually, well, certainly with this amount, it'll come up to way above this, up to about there, into this bay, and out to here. And then we collect human wee, and we pour that in on the top, and that works as a really good activator. I have a compost thermometer, which is a beautiful piece of kit, and it's like a cooking thermometer. You poke it in, and there's a dial, and you can read how hot the temperature is. So we let it heat up to 70 degrees, and then we turn it. Sometimes Win manages to turn it with the tractor, with the spikes on it, but sometimes it's just human grunt that turns it. And we often put more moisture in because the compost uses air and uses water when it's turning the raw materials into compost. And so what we're doing by turning it is letting more air in, and we put more water back into it. That's particularly important in a dry year. It won't be quite so important, but we'll still put more moisture in. And then we'll let it stand, and when it comes up to 70 degrees, we'll turn it again. So we'll turn it sometimes. We turn it until we run out of energy, but also it soon stops coming up to 70 degrees, and then we just leave it for 6 months or more, and then it's ready to put round our fruit trees and dig into our garden. And you can see the biochar that we've made and added into it. That's beautiful stuff. The plants will really, really love them. It provides a haven for microbes. All the microbes that you want to make materials available to plants and promote good growth will all find lots and lots of homes in pieces of biochar like that. The other thing is that biochar also helps retain moisture in soils, so for us that's always an important characteristic. This bit of bed was all full of the remains of the previous crop. So there were zucchini along here, there were green peppers along there, there had been climbing cucumbers up here. So because we've had a frost, I pulled and they'd all died, so I pulled all of that out, And then up in that corner, where there'd been a bit of spare ground, I had some green manure planted. So in that case, I just got vetch and barley, and it was up to there, and I crashed it all down. You can see where I haven't been able to get quite, and look, there's one barley plant that missed out. So that got dug in there, and I also turned in this. This is all worm castings. So this was a year ago. This was horse poo, and the worms have been through it, and there are no worms in it now, or nearly no worms in it now, because we organise the worm farm so that when there's fresh horse poo, the worms move in and eat it, and when they finish with that lot, they move to the next lot of fresh worm poo that we've put in. So we're not putting our breeding stock out in the garden, because worm farm worms are different from the earthworms that you get in a garden. So we don't want to put our good stock out in the garden, because they won't really thrive there at all. Much better that they stay in the worm farm and keep processing horse poo into this stuff, this beautiful worm castings. The other thing that I was digging in was biochar, and this is biochar that's made from bits of sticks of eucalypts that have been lying around under the trees, leaves. Biochar from is anything that's prickly. So I grow a lot of berries, and those berry vines, they only last a year, and then they die. So you cut them out, and I found that if you put them in compost, they inevitably, however you process them, they're still prickly. So I used to just burn them until I realised about biochar, and they actually make fabulous biochar, because biochar is so brittle that although they've still got the prickles on, they can't possibly hurt you and damage your skin. And the other thing is, because we're seed collectors, we have lots of hakea nuts, and hakea nuts likewise, they've got a point on them. And there's several other, and for instance, Acacia genistifolia, spreading wattle, has very pronounced thorns. All of those things we make into biochar, which is a wonderful way of recycling them in a way that, although they were prickly, they're no longer able to hurt you. And the soil just adores to have this dug in. It's hard to imagine having too much biochar in your soil.